Does anybody want to sing "O Canada"? Leave their mic on?
Did you just volunteer?
No.
Free to hit. We can go live, guys.
Okay, we are live. So we'll start with our national anthem, followed by a moment of private contemplation. And join me for a moment of quiet contemplation. Okay, thank you. And welcome everybody to our virtual meeting. I hope you're all enjoying the summer so far. I'll start with roll call, Jonathan.
Thank you, Warden. We have all members of council present, with a few exceptions. Councillor Bell has sent his regrets. Alternate Councillor David Snutch is in attendance. Councillor McDonald has just joined us and is present. Councillor Hamlin sends her regrets, with alternate Councillor Kathy Jeffrey in attendance. And finally, Councillor Michael Smith is absent. You have your quorum, Warden. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. Is there anybody that has to leave early today? Lynn, go ahead. Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Warden. I have to leave at 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. Any others? I'm not seeing. Yes.
Warden, this is Raj. I have to leave by 11:30.
11:30. Okay. Thank you. Judith?
I have to leave by 11:30.
11:30 as well. Okay. Pretty light agenda. We may make it. So depends on how much comments. I don't see any other hands. Please let me know if that arises and you have to go. So I'll look for approval of the agenda with Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by alternate Councillor Jeffrey that the agenda for August the 13th, 2024 meeting of County Council be approved.
Everybody's heard the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? That is carried. Next, I have disclosure of pecuniary interest for any member of council. Not seeing any. If you find yourself in that situation later, please speak up. Presentations and deputations. Yes, we do have one. I have Reverend Christia Moore and Steve Woods are here to provide a deputation regarding the Yonge Street expansion through Churchill. So do I have Christy online? All right.
Reverend Moore, you may go ahead.
We're having a bit of technical difficulty here. Just bear with us. Why don't we move on to the consent agenda? We'll keep an eye, and when they're able to get online, we'll have the good Reverend come in at that point. So if that's okay with everybody, we'll move on and we'll circle back. Just having trouble getting the connection made. So Councillor Burkett, do you have the consent agenda?
Good morning, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Norcross, that the Council Communications and Proclamations, June the 25th, 24 to August the 12th, 2024, have been given due consideration be received.
Everybody's heard the motion. Any questions on the proclamations? Not seeing any. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And adoption of County Council minutes and confirmation of the committee reports. Deputy Warden Coghlan.
Morning, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Laux, that the following minutes be confirmed and adopted. Joint Council and Committee of the Whole minutes of June 25th, 2024, and confidential Joint County Council and Committee of the Whole minutes from June 25th, 2024.
Okay, is there any questions or business arising from the minutes? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Presentations and considerations of Committee of the Whole reports, we have none. Presentations, consideration of special committee reports, we have none. No county officers report, no motions of which notices have been given, and I don't have any notices of motions. So before we go into Committee of the Whole, can we try again and see if we can get the Reverend online?
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Can
can.
you hear us
So,
now?
yes.
Okay, we're here.
Okay, welcome,
Technology is
Reverend.
wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, do we have the presentation up? Okay, thank you. So first of all, my name is Steve Woods. I am the Reverend's husband, and Krista Moore is here, and she is the Reverend for both the Churchill United and Guildford United churches in Innisfil.
Good morning.
So what we're here to do, to talk about briefly, is just some of the construction that's going on the County Road 4 and the Fourth Line upgrade. Basically, the team that's been working on it are actually awesome, even though they're almost in our front porch. But that's not the issue that we're having today. All we wanted to do was just kind of bring you up to speed and just ask for a minor accommodation request because of the situation that we're encountering. If we can go to the next slide. So the agenda is basically we want to talk about what the manse is, which is basically the house that we're living in, what we are actually requesting, why we're requesting this, what we understood initially, and what we're not going to request. And then we'll just summarize it. So we'll hopefully get that done fairly quickly. If we can have the next slide, please.
Yes, so I'm the new minister here. I've been here for 2 years. The manse is the residence of the minister, and it's a Presbyterian tradition. The word manse comes from the Presbyterian heritage of the manse. It's built in 1880s. Every minister from our Churchill and Guildford pastoral charge has lived in this manse since 1880s. And I am probably the 27th. So this manse has been the home of many groups, including a youth group, Bible study. I did an Exploring Our Faith group last winter. We've had several meetings at the manse because it accommodates about 10 to 12 people in each of the larger front rooms. So it's very ideal for small, intimate gatherings or smaller meetings. We also held a very special event last Christmas called Christmas at the Manse, which invited both the congregations and the community. And there were over 60 people that came to see the heritage and to see some of the renovations that we had done to revitalize the manse inside. So it's a very intimate and open and welcoming place, and it's part of our heritage. And it is actually owned by the church, not by the reverend. And so it does belong to them, and it belongs to the community.
Okay. Can we get the next slide, please? So what we're requesting, we understood that up to now, there's been parking in front of the manse, and people were able to pull up and actually pull out into traffic because it was a slope curb. We found out fairly recently that the current design is for a hard curb in front of, right in front of the manse, making it impossible for people to actually pull up and get into the front door. So what we're asking for is a minor change for the curb just in front of the manse, from a raised to a graduated curb. It's about 30 feet approximately. Can we get the next slide, please? So why are we requesting accommodation? Well, as Krista mentioned, the manse is the minister's office for Guildford and Churchill United Churches. It is owned by the church. It's not our residence per se, although we do live here. We have many meetings, parishioner visits, and community events that do occur here. Right now, if we were to not have accommodation that we're requesting today, we're asking the elderly, the aged, visitors to back onto a 4-lane highway, which if you've ever tried to do that on this road, it's fairly challenging at best of times. And also the only accessible entrance for wheelchairs and walkers is the front door. The one in the back has many stairs and whatnots. Also, the manse is only one of 5 operating manses in Ontario, so it is a little bit of a unique environment. Can we get the next slide, please? So what we understood, this was presented a few years ago, just before we came on board. This is what the project site presentation said. County Road 4 consists of 2 lanes, one in each direction, with a paved shoulder used for parking behind the curb on both sides. That was what it was. Can we get the next slide, please? And this is what the project site improvements the design includes: asphalt shoulders to maintain pedestrian access and on-street parking. And to accommodate pedestrians, cyclists, and asphalt shoulders and sidewalks will be reinstated on County Road 4, which is Yonge Street, which is what we're talking about. Can we get the next slide, please? What we are not requesting. So we've understood that on the east side, which is right in front of the manse, that there is not going to be a sidewalk. There's only going to be a little shoulder that they're saying is going to be used for snow accommodation. So although this is a bit of a concern, because there is now going to be traffic lights at 4th Line and CR, so there's no real way safely to get from the traffic lights down, because originally we were told, well, why don't you just park across the street at the church or something and have people come down, cross the lights, et cetera, et cetera. That's not a feasible thing if there's not going to be sidewalks, and it is a long way anyway, and not feasible. There is actually bus stops on the east side, and I believe that there's going to be bus stops in the future, like a GO, and I know that school buses do stop on this side too. So with no sidewalks, it's a little dangerous. But we're not requesting the sidewalk. We understand there's a limited space, and we totally get the whole project. We're not trying to change anything other than a little accommodation in front of the house. Additionally, there is a proposed residential commercial development to the south of us. So when that actually goes forward, again, there's going to be no sidewalk accommodation, and that's a little bit of a concern. But again, it's not what we're requesting. So can we have the next slide, please? So really all we're asking for is a change to a graduated curb in front of the manse, like it apparently is on the opposite side of the street. There is going to be a graduated curb to accommodate parking, etc. And this would this would allow us accessibility for our seniors that do visit the manse, to visit Krista when she's having her private, personal, congregational visits. Originally, people have said, well, why don't you just meet at the churches, etc. That's not really feasible. The churches are an open place. A lot of people do come and go, and some of the congregants do have personal issues that they want to discuss in private. And that's one of the reasons the manse is an office for the minister. I think that's it. Is that the last slide?
Yeah.
Yes, that's all we have to ask. Thank you.
Did you have any questions?
Thank you. Yeah. Do I have any questions for other presenters? I'm not seeing any. Councillor Dolan, go ahead.
Thank you, Warden Clark. So a couple of things. Thank you very much for the presentation. Much appreciated. Councillor Fowler and I did take the opportunity to meet with GM Elliott and Director Millet in regards to this situation. And I do have a recommendation that I would like to put forward. And while that's being put on screen, if I could just continue to say that I totally recognize the constraints of this project. County Road 4, as it goes through the historic village of Churchill, the buildings are built to the lot line, and many of them are heritage buildings. And it's been a very difficult, design. The recommendation, if I could ask the clerk to put it up on the screen, if at all possible.
Just getting it now. There it is.
Thank you. It calls for, so part of what the county staff have gone on site and met with Reverend Moore and I believe some of the congregation as well. And so what was offered was the apron of the driveway being asphalted and along with the walkway up to the front door. But again, we're asking that the possibility of this rollover curb or graduated curb, as now I know it's called, on the east side of County Road 4 as close to the manse as possible, that staff consider that. Along with, there is a parking lot, a private parking lot at the manse, and asking if the county staff could use their technical expertise to help the church see if there's any improvements that could be made to that part. I know there's a well that could be an issue there, but Christian had mentioned that maybe that there was some opportunity within the proper parking lot of the manse as well for those, not the times when there's 1 or 2, but those times when there's 60 people coming. So to ask them if they would just offer their expertise and advice to the church community to see if there's any improvements there. And then having said that, the only other thing that I would ask staff to consider is quite often, as expected, the PICs, the public information sessions for these projects happens years and years in advance because, there needs to be a lot of design work done and you want to get those comments from the local residents as early as possible. And I also commend the county staff for keeping an open mind and going to those PICs and asking the community what they want. Where I think we don't do as well is from that original PIC in 2022, we make changes, some of which the community really wanted, like the original design didn't have signalization at the intersection of Killarney Beach and County Road 4, and thank goodness that was added. It was imperative in my mind. So some of those changes are for the good, some of them not for the good, like taking the parking out in front of here, but we're not very good at communicating that back to the community. People who go to the PIC in 2022 and see the initial design just assume that that's going to be the finished design. And I think we need to find a way of, when we do make a change in these designs, that we find a way to communicate that back to the community before we get to the point where the construction equipment arrives. And that's all I had to say. And I didn't know if my seconder might have some comments.
Just waiting. Go ahead, Councillor Fowler, because I can't see you right now.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Thank you, Warden Clark. No, Councillor Dolan phrased everything appropriately. She's addressed the history, the concerns that have been risen with the project, the communication issues that we've had, but no, succinctly put. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments on the motion?
Can I just ask for a clarification? Just the last sentence, that county staff investigate the possibility of a rollover curb on the east side of County Road as close to the manse as possible. What does that mean? Like, sort of what we've been asking for in this presentation?
I'll go to General Manager Elliott for that.
Certainly, thank you. I appreciate the presentation as well. The county staff have been looking at all options, and I read this to ask staff to explore every feasible option to have that graduated curb as close to the front door as possible. The concern that we do have is the proximity of the dwelling or the manse to the road doesn't allow one to access the road or egress or open a door safely with a 4-lane road next to it. So I take this as a direction to staff to look at options to get that rollover or graduated curb as close to possible to the manse. But if Director Mealy wants to add anything further to that, I can pass it over to Christian.
Can we change it to, instead of close to the manse, but it's close to the front door? Sorry, I know.
I'm getting a nod from the mover. You're fine with that, Councillor Dolan?
I'm fine.
Yes.
I'm fine with that, Your Worship.
Staff would be agreeable to that. Thank you.
Yes. So we'll do that quick change.
Thank you.
Any-
Yeah, if you could
Yes, go
accommodate
ahead.
that would address all of our issues.
Councillor Gordon. Yes, thank you.
Thanks for that presentation. It's really thorough. It's very succinct to what you're asking for. And I appreciate that Councillor Dolan and Councillor Fowler have found a way to deal with this with this amending motion here, or this motion. My only question, and we get this all in our municipalities too, when we make an exception to an existing plan to accommodate people like yourself who come forward and with a valid concern, is are we setting ourselves up for a plethora of other people along this construction area with similar asks? At this point in the project, it makes sense to me, and I'm going to support this today with my peers. But I'm just wondering if staff have any concern that this is potentially opening Pandora's box for a number of other similar requests, where people would like customizations or paving done on their property that we hadn't originally factored in or costed. And we'd be hard pressed to say no after we made this exception for you. So I'm always cautious and just want to have that quick assurance from staff that they don't see this as being an issue as far as precedent.
General Manager, go ahead.
Yes, and thank you through the chair. Fantastic question. And just for clarity, the county wouldn't be undertaking any work on the private side. The work that we would be undertaking would remain within the county right of way. And it's really just a matter of how far the graduated curb would extend. We really see this as a minor kind of adjustment and don't think this would drive or potentially influence other decisions along this project.
Thank you.
Councillor Miskimins.
Thanks, Warden. Through you, I just have a question regarding the step to the front door of the manse, just from an accessibility perspective, because that's what we've kind of heard throughout the presentation, is that is the only accessible door. Why a step? Because that would prevent accessibility. I'm thinking with people with walkers and wheelchairs, if that is the intended outcome, is to provide accessibility, why a step? Thank you.
Guess I'd go to the presenters.
Yeah, so right now we have a minor step into the front porch, but we actually do have in plan a very small wheelchair ramp that is going to be removable.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the floor? I'll get you to speak up if there are, because I can't see everybody at the moment. Okay, now we're back. Oh yes, Councillor Duke.
Thank you, Warden. And just a question about the graduated curb in front of the manse. I'm just curious, are you looking to stop vehicles on the road and unload at that point on that 4-lane road? Are you looking to do that? I'm confused at why we want the graduated curb. What is the reason?
Okay, so the real reason for the graduated curb is right now people are prior to this construction, people were able to pull up to close to the front door on our property and get out of their car and enter through the front door, which again is more accessible than any other places. And they were actually able to park their car there and then actually leave the property in the flow of traffic. If we didn't do that, we're asking people to walk across, and again, there's a combination for a little walkway, I believe, that I think you guys are planning. But if that wasn't, if there is no graduated curb, they're not able to leave that way. They're going to have to back on to the road, which is a little tedious for some of the elderly people in our congregation.
So that's backing out of the driveway onto the road then. So you're not parking cars.
Yes.
They're asking. Yeah,
Okay.
That's the way it would be now if we don't have this accommodation.
that's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Understand that.
Any other questions? So I'm not seeing any, so I will call for the vote on the motion that's on the floor. Does anybody need it put up again? I think it was pretty straightforward. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. So thank you for the presentation. Excellent job, Reverend and Steve. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time and thanks for your accommodation.
Thank you. So next, I think we are on to Committee of the Whole here. Yes, we're looking to move into Committee of the Whole now. Could I have a mover? A move by Councillor Pross, second by Councillor Rawson, that council recess into the Committee of the Whole at 9:28 a.m. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So I'll look for a roll call as soon as our city reps can turn their cameras back on. Morning, Mayor. Councillor Norcross. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry.
Councillor Norcross. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, we can hardly hear you, Richard. There, you're moving now.
Approval of the agenda.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. We're we're just trying to get our roll call done.
Thank you, Warden. Same attendance from members of council. As far as our city reps are concerned, Aurelia Councillor Durnford is present. Aurelia Councillor Fallis is present. Barrie Councillor Hamilton has sent her regrets. Aurelia Mayor McIsaac is present. Barrie Councillor Negussi is absent. Barrie Mayor Nettle is absent. And Barrie Councillor Rietma is present. And you have your quorum. Thanks, Warden.
Thank you very much, Clerk. So I'll look for the approval of the agenda with Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Norcross that the agenda for the August 13th meeting of Committee of the Whole be approved.
Everybody's heard the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? Again, if you find yourself in that situation later, please declare it at that time. Presentations and delegations, we have none. So we will go right on to Human Services with Chair Leduc.
Thank you, Warden. So welcome to all our city reps. We are at section 19, the consent agenda. I have one item in there, a letter from the town of Bradford Glenbury regarding Ontario long service medals. May I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? I'm just going to actually ask names because I don't know. I don't know who's putting their hands up, whatever. But if you have something, just jump in. I'll say moved by Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor Lavoie. Perfect. Questions, concerns, and at this point in time, I don't see any. So the following consent items having been given due consideration be received. So all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Into section 20, Human Services Land Ambulance. We have item 20.1 is paramedic services patient care model for select 911 patients. treat and refer alternate destination for eligible mental health and addiction patients. So it's CCW 2024-155. Can I get any questions or concerns with this item? It's a good story. It's a test pilot system for 1 year. So, okay, I will ask then alternate Councillor Jeffrey to move, and seconded by Councillor Norcross. Seeing no questions or concerns, I will read the motion that item CCW 2024-155 dated August 13, 2024, regarding the paramedic services patient care model for select 911 patients, treat and refer an alternate destination for eligible mental health and addictions patients be received, and that subject to funding announcement from Ontario Health staff recruit 2 temporary full-time equivalents for the community response pilot program as outlined in this item. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're into item 21, Human Services Long-Term Care Committee of Management. We have 21.1, CCW 2024-213, Simcoe County Positive Aging Strategy Update. Questions, concerns with this one? It was a good survey. I think we had 2,500 people respond in this survey, so a lot of interesting questions in there and answers. So look forward to that coming forward. Okay, so seeing no questions, I'll ask Aurelia Mayor McIsaac to move, and seconded by Councillor Smith from Wasaga.
We somehow lost James for a second. So is there any question on that motion? Maybe one to Jane. So in the survey, it said over 75 represented 30% of the workforce. Is that the total workforce or the seniors workforce being over the age of 75?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I will ask Osa Clint Piggott, who has been the lead for the survey development and the continued sessions that we'll be holding in the fall, to speak to that question.
Hello, everyone. I'm just looking for the specific piece that you're talking about. And I believe it was in the civil participation and employment section. And I believe that is the 90% of those that are retired.
Oh, okay. Any other questions? We did lose James. He's actually here in one of the offices. We're trying to get him back online. Yeah, we're trying to get him back online. So I'll call the question then. All in favor? Opposed, if any? This is carried. Thank you. Human Services, other matters for consideration. Not seeing any hands. So I guess the city reps can leave, though there's a few of you now that may want to stick around because we do have to go into the Simcoe County Housing Board. Really hoping to have James. I haven't chaired one of these in forever, so. So we'll need a motion to recess into Simcoe County Housing Board. The County Committee of the Whole recess at 9:34 and reconvene at the meeting of the Simcoe County Housing Corporation. Moved by Councillor Miskman, second by Councillor Locks. All in favor? That is carried. So again, I'll call to order or look for approval of the agenda. I look by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Fryer. I thought I saw a card. It was there and gone. Any questions arising from the agenda? The motion is that the agenda for August 13th, 2024 meeting in the Simcoe County Housing Board be approved. All in favor? Oh, I need a different seconder? Sorry, I have to get the list of the folks that are on the housing board. So I've got Councillor McDonald. Could I have Councillor Cabral? I don't see it. Where'd George go?
I can second it, Warden.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
I'm fine with that.
Councillor Sandu. Okay, we have Councillor Sandu. So all in favor? That is carried. Yes, it's just the folks that are on the board. So I've got my list in front of me now. So I've got a motion that the minutes of the Simcoe County Housing Corporation meeting held May 28th, 2024 be confirmed and adopted. Moved by, looking again, Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Miskimins. Any question arising from the minutes? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Matters for consideration. So it's our fourth quarter report. The motion that item HCB 2024-212 dated August 13th, 2024 regarding the 2023 fourth quarter report be received. Moved by Councillor Rawson, second by Councillor Smith. Any questions on the report? Seeing any? All in favor? That is carried. There are no, is there any other matters for consideration? I guess is seeing all nods of no. Confidential matters, there's none, so we'd look for the adjournment that the August 13th, 2024 meeting of the Simcoe County Housing Corporation Board be adjourned at 9:37 a.m. Moved by, I believe, Councillor Fallis, and second by Councillor Miskimins. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll get back into our agenda here. My computer's doing an update, so I lost my agenda at the same time that we're trying to that we lost Councillor the Duke. Where am I? Okay, that committee of the whole reconvene at 9:37 a.m. Moved by Councillor Measures, second by Councillor Kerbell. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So we are now on to corporate services with Councillor Dolan. I hope you're still online.
I am still here, Warden. So thank you. We're on item 24, corporate services consent. And there's just the one item, the annual monitoring reports summary for the landfill sites. Are there any questions or comments on that item? I'm not seeing any. So could I ask for a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Van Stavern and Councillor Locks, that the following consent item having been given due consideration be received. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Next is the item 25.1, the county road section transferred in the town of New Tecumseh. Questions or comments on this report? Councillor Cabral?
Oh, sorry.
Anyone questions or comments on this? Seeing none, could I ask for a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Fryer and Councillor Sandhu. The item CCW 2024-218 dated August the 13th, 2024 regarding county road section transfer, town of New Tecumseh be received. And that the transfer of jurisdiction of a section of County Road 1 west of Beaton and a section of County Road 10 south of Tottenham from the County of Simcoe to the town of New Tecumseh is outlined in item CCW 2024-218 be approved, and that the necessary bylaw be presented to authorize the warden and county clerk to enter into municipal highway agreement between the County of Simcoe and the town of New Tecumseh substantively in the form attached as Schedule 4 to item CCW 2024-218, and that the necessary bylaw to remove these sections of road from the county road system be presented. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Are there any other matters for consideration for corporate services today? Seeing none, I'll pass it back to you, Warden.
Thank you. I'm going to keep going. It's not even 10 o'clock yet, so we'll roll right into performance management with Councillor Cox.
Good morning. Performance management consent agenda 27. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Snutch, that the following consent items having been given due consideration be received. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Performance Management 28.1. Member Municipal IT Services Program Expansion. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Cabral and Councillor Fryer. Recommendation that item CCW 2024-220 dated August 13th, 2024 regarding Member Municipal IT Services Program Expansion be received, and that $150,000 from General Contingency Reserve be allocated for the Member Municipal IT Services Program Expansion as generally outlined in item CCW 2024-220, and that staff proceed to recruit one IT support technician to support the Member Municipal IT Services Program Expansion as generally outlined in item CCW 2024-220. Any questions, comments? Councillor Dolan? No? Oh, your hand's there. Sorry, Councillor Gordon.
Thanks. Just a quick comment. I support this. It makes sense, especially doing that penetration scan. If you leave that up to individual, municipalities to do, they're not going to get the power of, the pricing that we can get as a collective. And you may end up with different companies using different methodologies. But I guess the one thing that I have heard, and I've heard this from several good service providers in Simcoe County that know my IT background and have reached out to me. I guess there's a feeling that the county is basically going into business and taking away contracts from tax-paying businesses and employers in the county by, basically spinning out and farming out our IT services to municipalities that used to formerly engage very qualified and very competitive similar IT services. So I guess I wanted to pop it out there that clearly we have some of our own mechanics looking after our vehicles. We don't necessarily take them to local heavy equipment mechanics in the county. However, we do need to remember that we need to support and shop local as much as we can and support our local businesses. So I guess the feeling is that some of these contracts are being lost to the county, and that's impacting business and service providers that have provided really good service, protecting the municipalities that haven't been victims of ransomware and other such things, primarily because of the good service they were receiving from these service providers. So just wanted to voice that concern on behalf of employers and ratepayers in our county as we expand our services and step on their toes and impact their commercial activities. So just something to be cognizant of.
Trevor, did you have a comment on that? Or no? Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Gordon. That's a very good point. Sorry.
Maybe not. Can you hear me, Councillor Cox?
Yes, we can now. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Gordon. We share your concerns in terms of we're not in competition with other providers. What we've tried to do is provide the best bang for the buck for all of our taxpayers, where we're providing services anyway in terms of what we're doing through our own IT services and doing this anyway. That's when we actually look at providing that kind of service to other municipalities on a cost return basis. Then it's up to the individual municipalities whether they feel that that's something that they want to entertain or otherwise. And if the company is competitive, then they can go with whoever they want. It's not something that we're actually actively going out to try and do in terms of competition. But where we do have the opportunity, we feel it's appropriate that, and council has been supportive of this, to try and provide the benefit of economies of scale to our other municipalities. So that's where there is a bit of a gray area there, but there's certainly no intent for competition. Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Councillor Gordon, or is that okay?
No, that's fair. It's something I pledged that I would bring up for our consideration. Clearly there's merits to doing this. I can't argue them. Except that, we need to be cognizant that there's lots of things we can do Just because we can doesn't mean we should, because there are employers, very competent managed service providers that serve in our county, that rely on the contracts that they work with the municipalities amongst their other clients. So I guess the perception was that it was more predatory and that we were going out saying, hey, we can provide you the service, which again, it's true. We can. If we have the capacity and the talent in-house, that's great. If we're looking to build that capacity to support expansion, well, that's where I start to question whether, the juice is worth the squeeze. Because, if we take on more and more municipalities and have to hire more and more people and get the credentials and certified folks, well, now we're fishing from the same pond that these managed service providers are fishing from, and the government's in competition with private business. So it's a balance that we need to play, looking for the most value for our ratepayers, but also being cognizant that they are our ratepayers. And if we're going after their employees, or their services that help them be employers and pay taxes, then we might be cutting our nose off to spite our face. So the threat is real in the threat landscape, but my point is there are some really good qualified managed service providers, not only in our county, but in GTA and around Canada, that provide excellent services. I'm mostly concerned about the ones that are in our jurisdiction in the Simcoe County area, and just making sure that we don't alienate them by aggressively going after their client base, which to a large degree are municipalities who are very vulnerable to threats right now. Always have been, but more in the news. So that was my only point. I don't intend to vote against this motion. I just wanted to make sure that I brought that up because I committed to do so.
Well, that's a very good point, and thank you for bringing that forward. Okay, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Performance management, other matters for consideration, 29.1, Special Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee Report, July 11th, 2024. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Cabral and Councillor Norris. Recommendations contained within the Special Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee Report dated July 11th, 2024 be approved with the exception of the Township of Earl Madani recommendation. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Back to you, Warden.
Thank you. We do have to go in camera for an update. It's not 10 o'clock yet, so I'm going to keep rolling if that's okay with everybody. So I have a motion that the Committee of the Whole resolve in a closed session at 9:48 under the authority of the Municipal Act, Section 239(2)C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, and Section 239(2)D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Moved by Councillor Measures, second by Councillor Anderson. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. I'll wait for the green light from my staff.